Greetings and welcome everybody to the Dr. Jane Live on a Thursday. So we're always discussing leading edge, pioneering, breakthrough, nutrients, case studies, protocols, methodologies, and I learn from the clients learn from me, and it's a really wonderful symbiotic relationship, if I could put it that way, where we're all learning and we're all gaining. So I just want to say at the outset, I always honor the clients that have trusted holistic health and well-being and empowered themselves to make that shift, be it physical and emotional, and to deepen into their awareness of self-discovery, broaden into consciousness, and ultimately reach their divinity. And we're dealing with products like the 365 Healthy by Choice range, which is my signature range, in the quantum state, food state, nutrient dense, natural, exactly as nature intended. You're dealing with nutrients that are not only working physically, they're also working neurologically, emotionally, and spiritually. So you're getting a holistic treatment, if you like. And that's what we want, because we don't want to be working in a reductive, disjointed, mechanistic way. It must be holistic, where everything is included. And in the quantum field, we speak about non-locality. So that's what I'm all about. That's what I see when you walk in. I'm looking at that field of yours. I'm looking at your torsion field, your scalar waves. I'm looking at the left and the right spin, the positive and the negative spin. I'm looking at the charge of your battery, your voltage. I'm looking at the amperage, the wave length, the brain wavelength, the harmonics there. I'm looking at the resistance to flow, what's in the way, toxins, parasites, emotions. I'm looking at the hydration inside the cell, the oxygenation inside the cell, and ultimately the energy, because we're needing ATP, CTP, GTP, and TTP, not only ATP. Just I've told you this many, many times. There are actually 4 forms of energy. And we're needing charged electrons for that to bind with the oxygen once it's absorbed and to increase life force. So life force is our currency. And that's what we're dealing with. And there's nothing in between. We need to aim for high frequency, high energy levels, so that you can delve deeper into your self-discovery, consciousness, and divinity. That's what it's about. And every time we clear, we detox, we purify, we're taking huge leaps into our consciousness. Every time we let go of anger, stress, resentment, fear, sadness, hatred, and we're closing that gap, moving from fear to courage, anger to joy, sadness to happiness, a hatred to love, and we're getting that body in a yin-yang balanced, unified field. We're able to deepen into our divinity. So that's just by way of a short introduction. And the next couple of webinars and features per week are going to be looking at it, building immunity as we enter into the winter cycle in the Southern Hemisphere. It doesn't mean that you don't get ill in the Northern Hemisphere as you enter into your spring. We're all on aeroplanes. We're all traveling. People are traveling. We're interacting with people all day long. It's become one big global world, as you know. So whilst the seasons do play a part and cold weather plays a part, the big thing about cold weather is that the skin contracts when you're cold. And the skin is one of the major detox organs. And if your skin is contracted, the lungs, the kidneys, the gut, the liver have to work overtime, because the skin is not detoxifying for you. So that your mom, asking you to take your jersey along, wear your jersey, that was to keep the skin warm, actually, and to keep it able to detoxify for you. So, thanks to our moms. I thought I'd better explain that to you. So immunity is crucial. Without our immunity, we don't have our army. We're not able to go to war. We're not able to fight those invaders. And those invaders are going to just become really resident in us if the immunity is low, the oxygen levels are low, and the acid levels are high. It's actually as simple as that. And then added to that, if we're not digesting properly, if we're not absorbing that digested food properly, if it's not getting to the cell, if the oxygen's not getting to the cell, well, the parasites will multiply, the toxins will stay, they won't be released, and you just downward spiral. Low oxygen, high acid levels, high toxin levels, and that resistance to flow increases. And that kind of leads to degeneration. And we do get the knocks, which just get louder. And sometimes we heed it, sometimes we ignore it. And the problem with ignoring it is that, as I said, the knock will get louder. The body will become more disordered, more diseased, and harder to heal. So, people will phone me and there's severe degeneration and they're undergoing chemo and radiation. And I can't treat both of those. I can't do the natural route and the synthetic route in one go together. The body is seesawing. I'm building the immunity in the day and it's getting knocked in the evening, and it literally seesaws, and you can track it in the live blood. When I look under the microscope, you can actually see that seesaw. So you're never going to get off starting block that way. So I don't ever mix my natural approach with a synthetic approach. But anyway, so the conversation goes like this. So when we finished all these treatments, and we might even need the chemo, then we're going to come to you. So I say, well, that's up to you, because the sooner you come, the sooner we've got a chance of working in a biological way, a natural way, a harmonic way, working with a quantum field, working with emotions. The later you leave it, the harder it is for me to get your magnetic spin correct, the scalar waves correct, the vital statistics correct, to raise the battery, the charge of the battery, etc. But the choice is always yours. And I firmly do believe that people's journey is theirs, and I will never interfere with that. I will put the information out, and then people can, be educated and work with what their gut feel resonates with, because they will heal themselves at the end of the day, not me or anyone else. So with that rather long introduction, let's launch into what I'm speaking about today, which is something really, really beautiful, and that is the bees, the little insects that come and pollinate our food, the plants that grow our food. Without that pollination, we're not going to be able to generate food. And just huge reverence for these little quantum insects that are able to produce not only honey, but bee pollen, bee propolis, and bee royal jelly. I'm going to delve into that a bit and explain it to you. And look specifically at, the bee products as from a medicinal perspective, and fill in some of the gaps there. If you want to comment, there's the chat there, please do. And as a practitioner, I've used the bee products extensively over the last 15, 20 years, and I wouldn't do without them. And let's go to the next slide where we're focusing specifically here on moving into winter immunity crisis, and we're seeing a lot of viral infections right now, coupled with chronic fatigue, adrenal fatigue. 6 out of 7 people lowered immunity because of radiation, toxicity, stress, lifestyle, improper nutrition, and in particular respiratory illnesses right now. I just had a lady today with COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, really sore in her chest. She's showing me all over where she's sore, and on the side, coming down the ribs and further down. So I could see immediately but we went through the quantum benchmark assessment part of my high-low process. And sure enough, under immunity, when I went to the lungs, you just saw, a degenerative situation with resistance building up and the various pathogens, low immunity in the stomach. I just want to remind you of the microbiome reset with the over 80 live strains. And I was talking about this earlier today in one of the health pharmacies. It's one of the only ones I know that has a certificate of analysis guaranteeing you the 80 live strains. It's standardized. And in that, I've put the pollen, propolis, the raw jellies, additionally to that, the algae, the medicinal mushrooms, kelps, zeolites, etc., to bring in additional nutrients, additional microbes that aren't even written about in textbooks, because each plant has its own microbial cloud. So I've added that as additional nutrients and additional microbes into that formula. And it really is second generation, and it's got also live enzymes. So just bear this one in mind, because as an umbrella, we need to have the microbes, because they're going to build 75% of our immunity in our gut. The bone marrow is going to do the other 25%, along also with immunoglobulins and things. So that's really where we're sitting. So this lady, we put her onto definitely the bee mix. I also put her onto the medicinal mushroom mix because it's got the cordyceps in there specifically, and those two, pollen and the cordyceps, are specifically good for assisting oxygen absorption along with ginseng. And so that's already in place to help her absorb properly, because often you get calcification everywhere, calcification in the lungs, and not all the lung surface is available. Her father died of TB. So I don't have to go much further into that holistic ancestral orientation program that I run to remove generational patterns. We've got right here. And as a baby, she would have grown up near her father, obviously, in the house. And, those TB microbes could easily have, she could have even contracted them as a young child. So you find normally these people, had acute bronchitis and pulmonary diseases even when they were young. And you'll find also that their skin, it's rough, it's itchy, it's psoriasis sometimes. And so, the picture's in front of you. So we're going to do the emotional work next, but I gave her the rundown, the probiotic, the flaxseed oil to line the gut and the lungs, and also to protect the cell membrane from viral invasion. So the flaxseed oil, it's science, it's physics, it's an electrical potential, allowing food and oxygen into the cell to make energy, and also lining the gut and the lung and the reproductive membranes, by the way, in addition to brain omega. So those two definitely, the cell oxygen, the DMSO, para-immune, the bee products, and the medicinal mushrooms. And the replica RNA DNA. Very important, because we had 2 COVID vaxxers and we got COVID twice. So imagine. So I want to reset the codes there, and I'm not going to say more on that. I think you know what I mean. And also, replica RNA DNA boosts immunity. Those of you who've been following me since January this year and before, you can look on my YouTube. I've got about 400 educational videos now. You know what I'm talking about. You know where I'm coming from. So those of you who haven't been following me, you can go to the YouTube channel, Dr. Jane Mackenzie, and you can search in the bar, and you're going to pick up a whole lot of stuff. And you can also go through the various headings. And I do urge you to do that, because what I do is unique, it's pioneering. Just to let you know, I had a university reunion last week in Cape Town, and I met up with a lot of my pharmacy friends that I haven't seen in 40 years, imagine. And many of them have just counted tablets for the last 40 years or done hospital rounds where they've dealt with medicines only. None of them have dealt with nutrition, life force, energy, frequency, quantum physics, biological approaches to health, and well-being for that matter. So they were astounded at what I've done. They actually couldn't believe it. And I was amazed, to see this and just to see the path that I'd taken, knowing the discord that I felt while studying pharmacy. I knew that paradigm wasn't the paradigm I was going to be using, so I asked for another way. But that's just by the way. So we here are focusing on biological things, sustainable health and well-being, and deepening into consciousness, simply. So we do know that we're living in a modern world with stress, processed foods, toxins, and all sorts of chemicals and things out there that the liver has to deal with, the body has to deal with, has to expel. And we need 100% immune support and the support of all the organs. And, that's our focus. So just a little bit about bees themselves. And I have 4 bee hives, and I have had them for well over 15 years. And it's really, really rewarding. And, quite frankly, I've never even been stung. There's enough pollen out there. There's enough nectar, and they are my friends. So you always get the queen bee, and everything is sustainably harvested, and there's always enough food for winter time, and we don't have swarms leaving and that. Everything's balanced and managed. So the queen bee, there's only one per colony. She lays up to 2,000 eggs a day and lives for 2 to 5 years. And her main role is reproduction. She's larger than the others, and she can't actually get into the area where all the honey is placed in the hive by the worker bees. So what then the worker bees here, thousands per colony, they're females. They live from 5 to 6 weeks only. And their main role is to clean, feed, collect, and defend. And then you've got the drone bee, the male one, hundreds per colony as opposed to thousands. They no longer sting. They live about 8 weeks, and their main role is to mate with the queen. So that gives you just a perspective on the 3 kinds of bees. And should another queen bee hatch, she will leave and guide some of the bees to a new hive. So how did this all start? Well, on my property in Bryanston, it's indigenous, so it's full of acacia trees and all the pollen producing natural fauna in terms of South Africa. And I was constantly attracting bees, and then I was getting the beekeepers to come and take them and put them onto bee farms and so on. And then one day I thought to myself, hold on, rather make it safe and make a home for the bees so that they can actually stay here. And that's what I did, and never looked back. So it's just very rewarding. And then I use the honey also for treatment. We often mix it with the medicinal mushrooms, for example, the lion's mane and so on. We store it like that because it keeps the active ingredients in the lion's mane and the other mushrooms active for much, much longer, in terms of oxidation and so on. And on the one hand, but we will also use the honey in open wounds. So let's not forget the honey. There's thousands of enzymes in the honey. And, the older people will really do well on honey because it just brings in those enzymes that they're lacking so much. And I'll show you in a moment what's in each one of them. So that's our little bees. When we're looking at the science of bee medicine as such, these are what it contains mainly. The polyphenols, the flavonoids, the amino acids, complete all amino acids. It's got the peptides, 18. Antioxidants, critical, crucial, and antimicrobial compounds. So in fact, the bee products are for allergies, believe it or not. With this kind of nutrient profile, and all backed up with research, by the way, from a medicinal healing point of view, I mean, you know, you can hardly go wrong. I honestly take bee pollen every single day of my life. I take the raw bee pollen, okay, and this is specially harvested for me from the Cape fynbos, and I use it because the pollen, which I'm coming to in a moment, will build mRNA, which is the single strand that's going to build DNA. So I'm constantly nourishing my body with the right mRNA, which is similar to the replica RNA. So that's the 5 peptides: uracil, adenine, guanine, cytosine, thymidine, and chlorella will also do this, just by the way. So it's boosting my immunity. I just want to say, many of my Rhodes University friends last week got really, really sick. Some of them didn't even finish the whole week of events because they couldn't. They had the razor blade sharp sore throat. And, you know, we were all in a confined environment anyway, and it did get cold, I agree, but I did not get sick. I did not miss one moment of anything. And I had, you know, a plane trip there and back, 2 hours each, breathing in the same stale air on the plane, which usually can make one sick as well. So but by following prevention, we're going to be not laying ourselves open. We topped up immunity all the time, the right antioxidants, polyphenols, phytosterols, amino acids, and so on. Remember, the amino acid is going to build immunity. Enzymes, also hormones, also neurotransmitters, for example. So I'm just giving you, you know, my own personal experience and what happens. And we don't need to be as sick as that. Yes, as the season changes, of course, there's the earth cleanses, especially at the equinoxes and solstices. And it's fine. The body will then naturally detox. And its friendly, active microbes will shift into the aggressive forms and clear us naturally. And that kind of infection you're not going to catch from. But the weird and wonderful made organisms we're going to definitely catch. You just have to sit next to someone and your immunity is low and you're going to catch it. So let's, you know, huge respect and honor for the bees. You know, their beehive is the same temperature as our body. And that's really how honey should be kept as well. And I just really honor the people that do, you know, bring to us the pollens, the propolises, the royal jellies, so that we can heal ourselves in sacrifice and respect. So this is my bee mix combination. I put the royal jelly, the pollen, and the propolis. So here you're getting a broad spectrum winter immune support. You're getting the best of all worlds, which is potentiation. So you can also buy them individually. You know, the most powerful for degeneration is going to be the royal jelly for sure. Big immune, lung immunity support, propolis, and then the bee pollen on a day-to-day basis for sure. I would add in the honey. I would use all of it. And so I've put a bee mix together. I've also put, and you're going to take 2 capsules in the morning and 2 in the evening. If you're really sick, you're going to take 6 capsules, 2-3 times a day to really rev up that immune system. But maintenance, 2 a day. And then we've also got the raw jelly, and that's going to support microbial energy, vitality and repair, longevity. So this one is in my Activa stem cells, the raw jelly, because it's going to stimulate plant-activated adult stem cells. And this one is for fertility. And I have case studies where independently from me in one of my health stores, a lady was producing 2 eggs a month, and within less than a month, she came back and told the shop floor ladies, look here, here's the results. In less than a month, I'm producing 22 eggs. Speaks for itself. Degeneration, fertility, anywhere where you need to really look for boosted longevity. So that's a fantastic one. The Propolis itself, antiviral, antibacterial, rich in the flavonoids, respiratory health as well, immune modulation. So speaks for itself. This is the waxy, more on the waxy side. The raw jelly is what the queen eats, and the worker bees eat that for 2 days only. Then she eats that, and then the propolis comes more on the waxy side, and the pollen would come from the plant. And there's the pollen. So the most nutrient dense of the 3, rich in the enzymes and antioxidants, and supports energy and recovery. So bee pollen in powdered form, capsuled, or in our grains, is going to do what we need it to do. So the fine powder is really just taken the grains and grinded them up. There's no extraction damage done to nature here. Exactly as nature intended. And remember, this one makes the mRNA, messenger RNA, crucial also for protein digestion. So you've got all the enzymes and you've got the mRNA aspect digesting your protein, which those of you know will then reduce lymphatic waste buildup in the body. And we want that lymph to be clean anyway. So yes, we're going to get a lot of that done. And enzymes in any event are part of just about all the pathways in the body. And this would always be, as I say, in addition to the microbiome reset, the cell oxygen, the DMSO, replic RNA, DNA, active stem cells, para-immune, parastop. This whole month, I'm going to be looking at building immunity. So, wow, it's like a do not miss. I'll tell you some more in a moment. So this for this week, I'm going to be focusing, and I'm doing lots of authority posts on these 4 products, the combined bee mix, and then the pollen propolis and raw jelly in its nature form as nature intended. It's going to be 15% off these, so I would grab at this. And it's vegan capsules, clear, see-through, actually plant cellulose, which the body needs anyway. The microbes live on that. So it's going to kickstart and activate a lot of the processes in the body. And you've got also then in the pollen, all 18 essential amino acids. So that's going to be similar to a medicinal mushroom or spirulina, chlorella, which is fantastic. The other things that that I have are, just want to draw to attention because I will be mentioning them. We've got the glutathione. I'll come back to this. We've got the glutathione and the vitamin C, the phyto C. So phyto C's got 12 natural vitamin C oriented plants and nutrients. So imagine your body can just take what it wants when it wants. It doesn't have to do anything. It's not synthetic. It's not going to harm the kidneys like plain ascorbic acid. This is only helpful to the body. It's going to boost that immune system from an antioxidant point of view, in addition to what I've talked about. The glutathione, the master antioxidant, is a little bit stronger than vitamin C, the phyto C. And I do have the 2 together in a glutathione phyto C mixed. But this one is going to bring in, 3 strong amino acids. and boost the liver, but boost the antioxidants in the body. I also have that VitaFlow, the new one, with pine bark and grapeseed extract. Major antioxidants, in addition to circulation flow. And I've got case studies on that right now, where people's veins in the legs, down at the ankles, are clearing, literally by the week. So through the antioxidant effect, we're managing to do amazing things and improve the circulation. So I draw your attention to the glutathione, the Phyto-C, and the VitaFlow. Go and have a look. It's just an amazing product. Incidentally, on my website, I've now made my A5 leaflets available in kind of a book form on the homepage. You can click on that and you can read. All the information is in there as well. So that's just incredible. I think lots of opportunities to really boost your immunity. Remember, stress will hammer your immunity, lowers it immediately. In addition to lowering thyroid hormone, progesterone, testosterone, dopamine, so we've always got to bear that in mind, that stress and lifestyle are huge killers. If you're eating heated oil, you're on hiding to nothing. So just from my point of view, prevention is better than waiting for when it's too late. And we are in the age of prevention. We can prevent it. We're far more knowledgeable than our parents. And it's better to build resistance before, the illness strikes. And that's my message I'm going to leave you with. You can look on the website, on the sale page, go and stock up, go and build that immunity. And it's over to you. I can speak, I can be testimony to it. And, the evidence is energy levels. And your energy levels. No one else can measure it. You can. Your happiness, your harmony. So best of luck. And remember, these nutrients on the quantum state, they're working physically, emotionally, neurologically, and spiritually. Over to you. See you next week.